Yeah, okay. So today I am going to share with you the news. The first one is called this VR tool knows what you are thinking before you do. So this news is VRScout.com, and then it's written by Bobby Carlton. Yeah, so pretty much in this news, there's a new software and hardware device. It's the combination, it's a system. And it's called, let me see, Claria, Claria. It's from Thea Interactive. Yeah, so in this Claria, this this headset, it's kind of like a software and hardware, combination. It has, the hardware is HP Ohm Concept and HP Reverb G2 Ohm Concept Edition. I know the name is extremely long, but I think the headset is really cool. It has eye tracking, uh, pupillometry, which is tracking your pupil, right? Like the kind of like a spacing size and all the stuff. And also, it can recognize your facial expression, and it also can detect your heart rate. So this is the hardware. The hardware is already had a lot of functions. As for software, it has a lot of tracking systems. If you go to the VR Scout, today's news, this VR tool knows what you are thinking before you do. It has something similar to Hotjar. If you do UX UI design, you know that Hotjar it allows you to know your users, the cursor, because when you want to interact the content on the website, the most important thing is the cursor. Where's the cursor go is usually where the user's eyes go. So you kind of like indirectly know what they want. But here, because the hardware HP Reverb G2, this super long name, the headset has super powerful stuff. I think right now, I think this one is pretty powerful. And then combined with a super powerful, the data analytics training, it can, like can track 6 key physical responses, including heart rate variability, cognitive load, eye vector, uh, pupillometry. Yeah. So, and even like the small eye movement between each situation, it can also measure. So it's much more detailed, and even it's just like detect your body. So like as for user testing, if you are familiar with the testing event, usually you know there's a way of doing it. It's called read aloud. You let your user to kind of browsing your site and start reading aloud, right? But this, sometimes we talk, but when we think, like sometimes it's different. But with this, you cannot lie, right? Because what you think is already being detected. Your heart rate, you cannot change your heart rate, right? And also cognitive load, eye vector. Um, Pupillometry. Those stuff are something that we couldn't even fake it. So it's even closer to the real user feedback. So I think this combination is super powerful. Not only the hardware but also the software. The software has a lot of like tracking system for the hardware to use it. So I person and it use Unreal. We all know that Unity is more, everyone is using it, or more like I would say more handy. And Unreal if you want to do it, it's more like AAA games or, like really high end 3D stuff. So I think this system will definitely, I think on their website, it says that it will kind of like targeting on the aerospace or, some retail or more much bigger scale like hotel, right? Or interior design. Those kind of like industry, even gaming, AAA games. The gamers want to, or like the game designers want to know whether the user loves or hates it, this part or that part. So this can definitely be a really good data for the researcher marketers to learn. Ellen, do you have any thoughts for this new system, including hardware and software, this new system?
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting to actually, see it in action.
Yeah.
Kind of, work with it and understand kind of what it does. It's kind of funny with these systems when they talk about gathering additional data or predicting what you're going to do, or like you said, reading your mind. The cool thing is that adds a lot of functionality to how you interact with stuff, of course. But on the other side, you have to be careful because people are afraid of those concepts. It's like when you say AI, to some people, they get nervous because they don't understand what AI is. It just seems like it's kind of scary and potentially dangerous. So, the idea of something reading your mind or understanding more about you than you do yourself, it could be, a little tough for some people to understand, I guess. So, but yeah, it's always interesting. I know, I think I mentioned the HoloLens has the people tracking as well. And it is really interesting to go into a UI interface. And when you look at like a map, you can actually, just by looking at different parts of the map, you can move around the map. You can actually scroll it just with your pupils, like by looking at a certain part, or a list of articles. As you look towards the bottom of the list, it starts to scroll automatically without you touching or doing anything. So it's pretty intuitive how it works, and I was surprised to kind of see the usefulness there. Because I always thought, like, if you look at something, like, it's great, but now I want to interact with it, so I have to click, or do I blink my eyes to click, or like, how do you do that? So there's also voice commands and things like that. But I think also with the heart rate, I was wondering like what, how useful that would be. But I would imagine you could create an app where it helps you kind of relax, and maybe you could lower your heart rate by just relaxing and have some type of virtual experience that helps you kind of calm down and do meditation or something like that. So I think that's pretty cool. I like the fact they're using facial kind of gestures. Maybe they're looking at the eyes internally to see expressions, and potentially there are cameras on the bottom of the device to see your mouth, so they could actually see how you're talking, or what types of words you're potentially saying, mouth mimic. But yeah, I mean, it's all really cool. And like we said before, if this isn't successful by itself, I think some of the bits of technology will just merge into newer stuff in the future. But yeah, really cool.
Yeah, and then I think it seems like they have a face camera in HP Omnicept HP Reverb G2 Omnicept edition. It's just extremely hard to pronounce and super long name. Yeah, I wish they can have a shorter name. And then I think they have a face camera which can see your facial expression. And I think heart rate sensor probably it might be good for maybe some games, right? Oh, if the user feel the heart pumping, maybe there are some Beat Savers or some interesting games, and you kind of know, oh, maybe the user feels like excited or something. For example, like I download Star Wars, the Vadar, the scary one. So when I see Vadar just standing in front of me really close, I believe my heart will jump. It's almost jumping out of my chest. I believe that heartbeat is really scary.
I would think it's kind of like the lie detector test. I mean, they use a lot of different sensors, but heart rate is definitely one of them. So they can monitor your heart over time and say it's pretty consistent, but after something happens, it jumps or lowers for some reason, they could potentially use that to affect the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I think this can do a lot of stuff, not only game or I think in their categories, they are targeting aerospace, automotive, AEC, retail, manufacture. But I think, like medical, right? Medicare, if you can know so many details, definitely, like medical or some meditation or a lot of health app can also integrate. Yeah. And then, yeah, I think this is, yeah, I mean, right now, I believe still, still working on it. But if this can go big, I think, all the user, because right now, if I find user testing event, sometimes, a lot of user, they just tell you and just want to finish it. Or, like sometimes what they say is not really what they mean. But just by detecting their body reaction, there might be some data that might tell the truth. So I think this is very, very cool. Yeah, another news is on XReality.news, and the title is called 10 Remote Collaboration Apps for HoloLens, Magic Leap, and mobile that can substitute for in-person meetings. I still feel like those virtual meetings, it might not feel comfortable as in-person meetings, but if you don't have any choice, it might be a good substitute. But I don't really think right now you can replace it, but maybe in the future when everything is getting better, software, hardware getting better, I think it has the potential to kind of have another trend for this part. Yeah, so the first one is, let me see. Oh, yeah, Special.io. We all know that Special.io is kind of like a lot of people, like it's kind of a remote AR meeting software, and it used like your 2D photo and turns into a 3D avatar. And yeah, it's kind of like available for a lot of VR app. I download it. It was still in the beta mode, but I download it and I play it. Even though I feel like the 2D photo becomes 3D, something was a little off and a little scary. But I believe like like in the future it will has more and more improvement and get more better. And then another one is called AR Visio. RVZO or ARVZO. Yeah, so oh yeah, and by the way, this news is written by Tommy Palladino. Palladino, yeah. And let me see. The second one will be ARVZO. Yeah, ARVZO is, I would say, a little bit similar to it's kind of launched Magic Leap. Yeah, so this one, I think it's another similar XR platform that allows people to collaborate together, and then doing some, I would say, it has the mixed reality immersive app with Magic Leap. And if you open it in your Magic Leap, you can see bunch of like measurement, and you can put 3D stuff in the space, and you can also put some comments in the 3D space and put real size human inside that space and measure it. So yeah, and I think the one on the demo was volumetric kind of 3D model in the space. So yeah, so I think they are kind of like working on more, I would say, collaborate stuff that allows people to kind of measure and put annotate. And then yeah, so pretty much yeah, putting stuff, measure it. Yeah. And then avatar chat, the third one is avatar chat. It's on Magic Leap. Pretty much it will turn you another 3D animate, yeah, yeah, kind of like a 3D animated avatar. And you can use avatar chat to call your friends, and you will see your friends right in front of you, and with a very interesting avatar similar to Allspace, but it's in AR, so it's in your place, and you can chat and say hi and doing some simple AR stuff. So yeah, so this is kind of another handy way to communicate with your team, or a more casual way. Another one is whiteboard. Yeah, whiteboard. I think right now the funny thing is that they haven't integrated with multiplayer, or like you know, multi-user. Which, yeah, if you want to collaborate with somebody, you probably need to have multi-user stuff. But they are doing it, but it's not finished. So whiteboard pretty much is like mimicking the real world whiteboard, and you can grab, like some colorful pens to draw on the whiteboard. I think this might be really useful for, like future multi-user collaboration. Another one will be Special 8. Yeah. Yeah, it's another, I would say, another collaboration platform. So pretty much you can put 3D there, and allows it will, I would say it's like tint brush. You can paint different stuff, and like you can design and create a bunch of 3D stuff in the 3D space. Yeah, and then another one will be called Mises. Yeah, Mises it allows people to visualize the kind of like um, some 3D models in reality, including volumetric videos. So yeah, so you can kind of take a look at interact with the 3D model in the 3D space. Yeah, so um, the other one is Trimble. Trimble is more for construction side. So it has a lot of different buttons, and you can take a look of the construction and work remotely. So yeah, so at the end, it talks about some other softwares. Yeah, I mean, those, I would say those are more like, for example, like a Zoom, right? Slack. Those are more video conferences. But yeah, right now, Zoom doesn't really have a native app for HoloLens or Magic Leap. But right now, pretty much you can download it on the browser. So if everything is on the browser, yeah, you can pretty much having a Zoom meeting maybe in the web AR, and using those other stuff to you can definitely use your headset to have a Zoom meeting, on that. So yeah, so a lot of AR collaboration apps well allows people. I wouldn't say right now it can substitute in-person meetings, but it has a lot of functions that allows people to collaborate remotely. Yeah. So, do you have any thoughts for the remote collaboration for some AR device? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely have some ideas on this. It's interesting because I'm a bit, I guess, old-fashioned in a way that I do, I guess, like to meet in person when you have meetings and stuff. It's just something I'm used to doing. Um, on the other hand, I think some of this technology is kind of being used as a necessity. So, for example, if I wanted to have a meeting with a group of people or a client, right now, a live meeting, I'd have to send an email or a message to them saying, hey, what time are you available? We have to meet at a certain location. We have to, kind of coordinate everything. Lord forbid, it's a client maybe, across the country somewhere, that makes it even more difficult to kind of, do that type of stuff. So, some of these tools actually make it super convenient right now to do what you could normally do, which is I could just call my customer in Texas right now and say, hey, meet me on VR, and we're going to collaborate on this idea here. I can do that within the next 15 minutes, just set it up and get going. So yeah, I mean, I think what it is now is just the convenience of being able to do that, reducing the cost of travel, reducing the cost of, like hotel stays and all the other things that go, meeting, in remote locations, and just that convenience. To me, that just makes a ton of sense. On the other hand, actually, oddly enough, I do believe there are benefits to this stuff that you couldn't do live. And I think I mentioned the other day that, for example, with spatial I/O, in that virtual environment, I can pull up a 3D model of whatever it is I'm working on with my client. So it could be a jet engine, or it could be whatever it happens to be. I get to interact with that model in 3D, walk around it. We can point at things. You can kind of do what you need to do. In the real world, that would be a lot harder. You'd have to physically be at that location with that 3D model, however big it is, and you couldn't necessarily take it apart or see the insides or do anything else with it. Like, it would be a lot harder to do that in real life than in a virtual world. So, like we said before, I think some of this technology, it's hard to look at it and judge it right now because it's developing over time. It'll take a little while for it to fine tune all the different features, make it a little more realistic, a little bit easier to interact with people, but that will happen, obviously. And I think it'll just get better and better. And I think, honestly, at some point, it'll be a preferred method to meeting as opposed to even doing it, one-on-one in life. What I'm kind of surprised about, honestly, is that some of these companies like Zoom, WebEx haven't taken advantage, like you said, of these technologies. I know I'd mentioned a while back that TeamViewer just recently came out with an AR app that allows you to collaborate through AR, not through Quest or HoloLens, but basically just through an iOS or Android device. But yeah, it just seems to me like, especially during COVID, that some of these companies that are well known for collaboration or video chats for the most part would have taken advantage of the wearable kind of things, kind of started heading towards at least having an app that allows you to kind of to work with each other. But I haven't seen that with the big players just yet. So yeah, it's always interesting to see how that happens.
Yeah, I think maybe Zoom is too big. So, sometimes big companies, they are so successful. So they just stay there.
Really quick on that note, it's funny because if you look at a company like Kodak, who were one of the first companies to actually, I think invent, but have a digital camera, they kind of lost out on that. That was where things were going at the time. And, because you're kind of set in what you do and you're not really paying attention maybe to like what's actually happening out in the world. You maybe lose out and then somebody else comes in and takes over that, ultimately. So yeah, it's always interesting to me that these things happen and, the companies aren't necessarily taking advantage of what they could be doing.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, imagine that Zoom is doing something similar to TeamViewer or, like some integrating with some AR VR stuff since they have so many users, right? And just put a beta and they will get a lot of data, right? But I think sometimes if you are too successful, then you probably don't want to do something new. Maybe. But I think
as big as they are, they could have potentially bought or purchased a company to kind of fill that gap as well.
Yeah, they can buy a company.
I mean, we're all predicting what's going to happen in the future, and maybe it will, maybe it won't. But it just seems kind of, interesting that they wouldn't have pursued something.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think right now I'm using Zoom nearly every day, and I find out that Zoom, there are a lot of limitations, right? And and then, with VR, it can probably do more. And people use Zoom for recruitment, right? Like, maybe they're, just maybe, learn from Jaguar team, maybe doing some testing, some stuff in VR or something. So I think right now I think they are missing out a lot of stuff, but yeah, who knows? They are still pretty big. Everyone's still using Zoom. Yeah, and Google Hangout. I found out Google Hangout, the reason why I don't use it is because I couldn't use pen to draw something or to, to put and like to put mark or something. It's just like a simple stuff that you couldn't do. So I ditched it. Yeah. So yeah, I feel like there are so many potentials for all those big companies that are leading
Well,
for the teamwork. Yeah.
yeah, I was going to say too that I believe I haven't seen it, but it's funny because even Microsoft, who has the HoloLens, they have they have features within the HoloLens that you can do certain things. They have the 360, but even Teams, which we use at our company to to do collaboration like Zoom type meetings,
Yeah.
it doesn't necessarily have any features built in to utilize some of this stuff as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, I guess it all depends on where the priorities are for these guys, but hopefully we'll see in the future some more advances in those areas. I think
Yeah.
when Apple, you
Yeah.
say Apple
Apple.
glasses, but when it becomes more available, I think for the average person, that's I think when some of these guys will get more on board. But like for example, spatial I/O, like it's available on every platform, desktop, Android, iOS, HoloLens, Quest. I mean, every one of those platforms has an app for spatial I/O, so they definitely embrace the whole XR ecosystem.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think, yeah, if you want everyone to use it, at least it should be, exist in every different platforms. And then, like people who has different, headset, they can still communicate together. Yeah, so those will be definitely, helping the remote creation and also, make people's imagination go wild. Because in VR space, you feel like you are unlimited, right? You feel like you are super powered, or I don't know, it's me. Like I always feel like, wow, I can teleport into somewhere. I feel like my brain restriction is not, restricting to the current physics, right? But in here, I feel like, oh, there are so many limits, right? Like, oh, space, right? You need to rent a space. But in collaboration apps, just like you say, we can have a call, or something, and we can jump in. Yeah. So yeah, so you see, we work. I before I ran a dedicated desk in WeWork, which is like $900 per month, right? But you see, like right now, I saw a lot of like a WeWork, like the emails, like, oh, please come back, like, we give you like 1 month free. But I was thinking about, yeah, right now everyone is on Zoom, and why should I go there? And I bought a coffee machine, so I make coffee at home before I went. Yeah, yeah. I feel like those co-working space, maybe for the hybrid work styles that people might go to, office once a while.
I agree. I think that was happening in some places, like kind of the renting the office for a couple days a week or something when you have to meet with clients, maybe. But even at our company, we just were moving actually currently to a new location, and over COVID, we actually realized that people are just as, if not more, efficient working from home.
Yeah.
And so they decided that it would probably be best to just move to a smaller office location, a nicer one, but just smaller because we don't have to be there every single day. So we definitely do a hybrid. We do a lot of military work, so some of it we have to do. But yeah, it's a hybrid environment, and it's just a little less stressful, having to deal with going into the office every day. But I think that's going to happen. Companies are realizing now that that's possible. I think they were afraid before to think about it, because if you did it and it didn't work, then you have to kind of reverse all the policies, and it's very difficult. But because of COVID, it kind of forced a lot of companies to just do it. And then you were able to test it and realize that, it works in some cases. So
Yeah, right now, yeah, the interesting things was that in Taiwan, pretty much last year, they didn't do any digital transformation because no, it's like the no one get COVID. But recently, I think two weeks ago, there were more COVID cases. So my mom is a retired elementary school teacher, and she kind of once a while she go back to school and teach some classes. And right now she said that, oh, she has to prepare online courses for the students. And she find out that, yeah, a lot of, teachers were reluctant and say, oh, COVID is just, for a few months and everything will but, like there are so many situations, even, the safest, I would say the safest place in Taiwan, like, they are doing that. And suddenly last 2 weeks all the um, computers were like everyone was buying computers, so computer was shortage that yeah so digital transformation, I would say COVID really accelerate everything. Yeah, so I find out that this is kind of like, wow, yeah, didn't realize that. Yeah, you see like AR start jumping in and enhance the collaboration style and get more powerful tools into the virtual space. So yeah, so I'm looking forward to this part. And yeah, it seems really interesting. And yeah, a lot of good things happen right now. Yeah, cool. Okay, yeah. So those are today's news, and thank you for joining me today, Ellen. And yeah, hopefully see you tomorrow. Mm.
All right, thanks,
Yeah,
Matt.
thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.
Okay, thank you. Bye bye.